Step 7. An algorithm or protocol is standardized. A standard is usually published by a government or standardization body. The aim is to make sure that everyone is on the same page so as to maximize interoperability. For example, NIST regularly publishes cryptographic standards. A well-known standardization body in cryptography is the Internet Engineering Task Force, or IETF, which is behind many standards on the Internet, like TCP, UDP, TLS, and so on, and that you will hear a lot about in this book. Standards in the IETF are called Request for Comment, or RFC, and can be written by pretty much anyone who wants to write a standard. To reinforce that we do not vote, we have also adopted the tradition of humming. When, for example, we have face-to-face meetings and the chair of the working group wants to get a sense of the room, instead of a show of hands, sometimes the chair will ask for each side to hum on a particular question, either for or against. From RFC 7282 on consensus and humming in the IETF, published in 2014. Sometimes a company publishes a standard directly. For example, RSA Security LLC, funded by the creators of the RSA algorithm, released a series of 15 documents called the Public Key Cryptography Standards, or PKCS, to legitimize algorithms and techniques the company used at that time. Nowadays, this is pretty rare, and a lot of companies go through the IETF to standardize their protocols or algorithms as an RFC instead of a custom document. Your algorithm or protocol gets implemented. Go to Step 9. Nobody cares about your standard. Go back to the start. Step 8. A patent expires. A patent in cryptography usually means that nobody will use the algorithm. Once the patent expires, it is not uncommon to see a renewed interest in the primitive. The most popular example is probably Schnorr signatures, which were the first contender to become the most popular signature scheme until Schnorr himself patented the algorithm in 1989. This led to the NIST standardizing a poorer algorithm called Digital Signature Algorithm, or DSA, which became the go-to signature scheme at the time, but doesn't see much use nowadays. The patent over Schnorr signatures expired in 2008, and the algorithm has since started regaining popularity. It's been too long. Your algorithm will be forever forgotten. Go back to the beginning. Your construction inspires many more constructions to get invented on top of it. Go to Step 5. Now people want to use your construction, but not before it's standardized for real. Go to Step 7. Some developers are implementing your algorithm. Go to Step 9. Step 9. A construction or protocol gets implemented. Implementers have the hard task to not only decipher a paper or standard, although standards are supposed to target implementers, but they also must make their implementations easy and safe to use. This is not always a simple task, as many devastating bugs can arise in the way cryptography is used. Someone decides it's time for these implementations to be backed by a standard. It's embarrassing without one. Go to Step 7. Hype is raining on your cryptographic library. Go to Step 10. Step 10. A developer uses a protocol or primitive in an application. A developer has a need, and your cryptographic library seems to solve it. Easy peasy. Their primitive solves the need, but it doesn't have a standard. Not great. Go to Step 7. I wish this was written in my programming language. Go to Step 9. I misuse the library, or the construction is broken. Game over. You got it. There are many means for a primitive to go to real world. The best way involves many years of analysis, an implementer-friendly standard, and good libraries. A worse way involves a bad algorithm with a poor implementation. In Figure 1.16, I illustrate the preferred path. Section 1.8. A word of warning. Anyone, from the most clueless amateur to the best cryptographer, can create an algorithm that he himself can't break. Bruce Schneier, Memo to the Amateur Cipher Designer from 1998. I must warn you, the art of cryptography is difficult to master. It would be unwise to assume that you can build complex cryptographic protocols once you're done with this book. This journey should enlighten you, show you what is possible, and show you how things work, but it will not make you a master of cryptography. This book is not the Holy Grail. Indeed, the last pages of this book can take you through the most important lesson. Do not go alone on a real adventure. Dragons can kill, and you need some support to accompany you in order to defeat them. In other words, cryptography is complicated, and this book alone does not permit you to abuse what you learn. To build complex systems, experts who have studied their trade for years are required. Instead, what you will learn is to recognize when cryptography should be used, or, if something seems fishy, what cryptographic primitives and protocols are available to solve the issues you're facing, and how all these cryptographic algorithms work under the surface. Now that you've been warned, go to the next chapter. Summary. A protocol is a step-by-step recipe where multiple participants attempt to achieve something like exchanging confidential messages. Cryptography is about augmenting protocols to secure them in adversarial settings. It often requires secrets. A cryptographic primitive is a type of cryptographic algorithm. For example, symmetric encryption is a cryptographic primitive, while AES is a specific symmetric encryption algorithm. One way to classify the different cryptographic primitives is to split them into two types: symmetric and asymmetric cryptography. Symmetric cryptography uses a single key, as you saw with symmetric encryption, while asymmetric cryptography makes use of different keys, as you saw with key exchanges, asymmetric encryption, and digital signatures. Cryptographic properties are hard to classify, but they often aim to provide one of these two properties: authentication or confidentiality. Authentication is about verifying the authenticity of something or someone, while confidentiality is about the privacy of data or identities. Real-world cryptography matters because it is ubiquitous in technological applications, while theoretical cryptography is often less useful in practice. Most of the cryptographic primitives contained in this book were agreed on after long standardization processes. Cryptography is complicated, and there are many dangers in implementing or using cryptographic primitives.